Okay, thank you. Thank you for the invitation. I will try to have a shorter presentation in order for us to discuss more. I have two hats on for today. I'm both the founder of Changing Food, as I said before, but I'm also a partner in the Co-Creado project, which is an EU project trying to connect consumers and producers and find better pathways and rebalance the farmer's position. And as a partner there, we have made an investigation around small-scale farmers of their experiences of attending public procurement. So it's only what they have experienced. It's not a full list of barriers. But we made this investigation in 5 countries. It was in Denmark, Belgium, Portugal, and Bulgaria and Latvia. And in all 5 countries, we had contacts to universities and different associations for farmers who contacted farmers that was small scale and that had tried to apply for a procurement or even had sold something through a procurement agreement. I would say, to begin with, most of them answered that they thought the barriers were so high that they had even not attempted to be part of a procurement agreement. But otherwise, the ones who had actually attempted, they had these prevalent types of barriers, that they were written and constructed with wholesalers and usual suppliers in mind, that the logistics was a major challenge that we also heard before from. And there's a difficult match between how the farming is and how rigid the structure of the public procurement is. And then most of the countries also noted this, that they have this that the public procurement always goes for cheapest price instead of best price. So they don't have a chance to win the tenders, and that the procurement officers lacks skills or time or resources to try to figure out solution on these barriers. So they don't really, the changes that are needed to be done, the procurement officers don't have the time required to that. Also because most of the procurement officers do a lot of other procurement than only food. And then the time-consuming process is really killing them, that they have to attend and answer questions and wait for answers for 6 months and even longer, and they lose track of it and don't know how to be a part of it. So all of these barriers we could see that existed around in Europe, and what we have discovered is that we can see that there are what we would call 6 necessary pillars if we want to open the market for the small-scale farmers, that we have to take into considerations for the public procurement. So it's priority, making the room, making it maybe a political priority that the procurement officer has to follow, or and then allowed to follow. Terms and criteria, really working on them and finding out what is needed for the small-scale farmers to participate. The resources in testing and developing it takes time. Cooperation, finding ways to cooperate between the farmers, between the wholesalers and the farmers, and between the public procurement officers. And then gaining trust. That is actually quite a big issue in this, that the small-scale farmers need to feel that they are trusted and it's worth their while in order for them to be motivated. Okay, so that's a very quick telling about this Co-Creado project and this investigation. And I would like then to take my hat off the Co-Creado project and go back to my experiences, because this is what I've just told you about is the farmer's experience of the meeting the public procurement. But I also see this situation from the side of the kitchens and can see what barriers there are in general for more sustainable procurement and more sustainable food production in the cities. And this seems like a very simple model, but we have 15 years of of experience on using this model in Copenhagen. So what we were doing was that the Lord Mayor decided that we should have 75% organic product in the institution, and later on she got even more excited and decided for 90% organic in all the public kitchen, and it's around 900 kitchens. Oh yes, at least we count them sometimes. And the main tool that we used in that change and this conversion into more organic products were the competences and the motivation in all of these kitchens. So training the personnel or the kitchen staff to make more food from scratch, make less meat and more vegetables, making more food in season, and be careful of the food waste. And by doing so, we found the budgets and the money for the additional price there are for organic products. So that was really, really key that the kitchen staff was able to do this. And they are perhaps 70-75% of this model. But then, of course, we also needed that they were able to buy some of all of these organic products. And this is where procurement and economy gets to be really, really important. And Bettina will elaborate much more about that. But I would also like to stress the organization and the infrastructure. And that can actually be very different kind of organization and infrastructural issues. But it's very often not very known before we start. Sometimes it's as simple as that there is no room in the kitchen for them to wash the soil of the vegetables, or they don't have any knives. They only have scissors. But there is also other issues, and I would like to try to use this case for an example. Right now, I'm involved in a conversion project in Lolland Falster, which is an island southern of Zealand. And this cottage has 3 different localities. And as you can see on the map, 2 of them are 5 minutes apart, and the last one is 1 hour apart. And in the last kitchen in Nakskov, they actually don't make any food themselves. They are 3 people hired and have excellent modern kitchen facilities. But some years ago, the leader of that kitchen got sick, and later on she retired. And then in that period of uncertainty of what's going to happen, the larger kitchen, 1 hour drive away, started to produce all the food that was eaten in this canteen. And in the same period, the head chef in the larger canteen in Nykøbing, she was replaced, and now this new kitchen chef that I'm working with, she doesn't know this history background for why we have made this structure. But what they are doing is that they produce all the food in one central kitchen, and then half of the food is driven 1 hour in heating boxes. And for that reason, they have to be done with all the food production at 10 o'clock in the morning. And for that reason, they will not ask for any suppliers with fresh produce, because they are not sure if they are able to reach their deadline. So the simple question is, could we stop doing that and just starting producing food again in the kitchen 1 hour away? But nobody had thought of that solution. The structure, the organization was already implemented so much in the kitchen, so they didn't know if... okay. If that was a possibility. And most often I see that in kitchens, that when you ask questions like that, they're just like, we don't know why we do it like this. We just do. We have always done that. Or maybe they have only done it for 3 years, but nobody remembers anyway. So that's a very important step before even discussing what kind of food are we going to buy. Then it's how are we going to organize this? And then, of course, we need to, the project is focusing on the skills in the kitchen. So we can now, when we have this decision, okay, the Nakskov kicks in an hour away, will now start producing food themselves. Okay, then we'll educate these 3 women so they are ready to do so. And then, luckily enough, we also have the timing. They need to have a new tender for the food procurement within the next 6 months. So actually here we have all the pieces of the puzzle ready to actually make a change. And I have high hopes that this will happen. My other case will be the Copenhagen Hospitality College, which is in Copenhagen. It's the school for chefs and kitchen staff for the next generation. They have actually, I try to structure it after the pillars I was mentioning before, because the situation here is they had a new CEO and she is very much engaged in sustainability and food. So she made a strategy for the whole school 3 years ago, which stated that they had to be 90 to 100% organic, and the main objectivity of the goal for the school was to train the new chefs and the new generation in the future food system. So they have to be aware of what kind of food they would need to be producing when they were finished. So we have the priority, a clear strategy. And then we also have the terms and conditions. They really decided to make the whole procurement agreement in a way so it was possible. So they had a market dialogue prior to the tender and asking how should we, for instance, get the chickens delivered. If the chickens that we want to a good price could only be delivered 1 day a week, only Wednesdays, and only if we order it 4 days in advance, we will be willing to write that into our terms and conditions instead of per autopilot just write that we need to be able to order 1 day in advance and always get delivered every day before 8 o'clock in the morning. So all of this dialogue was prior to the process, and they made sure that all of this terms and conditions fitted the producers they really wanted. Then there was the question of resources. Not only did they get help to write the tender, but they also hired this nice guy in the blue shirt as their person who was, he has the title of being a grocery owner. And he occupies the cellar of the Copenhagen Hospitality College, where he has his warehouse. And he is the contact person for all the teachers at the school, saying now, well, we need this stuff, why can't I still order this and this? And he explains to them why they have this priority. And on the same time, he's handling, instead of one contract, he's handling 11 different contracts and agreements, because he wants the right suppliers to join him. But they have invested in that resource because it's more complicated. And then, of course, he's also responsible for the cooperation. So he's constantly figuring out solutions with all of these suppliers and gaining this trust and transparency, which is important for them, in order also for the suppliers to deliver the best prices. So if you want a good deal, you also have to present something that's worth a good deal. And then, of course, the motivation for the suppliers is that they really want to buy into this strategy on having the next generation of chefs in Copenhagen to understand the food system, to understand small-scale farmers. So, of course, they are willing to do a lot. And then the Copenhagen Hospitality College has one more thing that they really use resources on, that is contract management and procurement analysis, which I am the happy one to provide. And I can share this one with you, where we are comparing the situation before the new tender, where they had one wholesaler delivering all the kilos of the food that they bought. And in 2022, then don't look at the numbers, because in the this is first quarter both of 2020 and 2022, and in 2022 we had a lockdown in Denmark, so the numbers are different. But you can see the picture that they have started to buy food from a lot of smaller suppliers, and I also have a list where I make an analysis of these suppliers, so you can see which is small scale and which is medium size, and so on. So they have achieved some of their goals in the strategy by really focusing on it. So just to say, it is possible also in public procurement. Great. Thank you.